Jamie Ross walked across a busy New York street. She walked straight into a restaurant full of armed men. She grabbed a total stranger by the collar, and she kissed him, hard, deep, like she had known him her whole life. The man she kissed was Henry Reed, the most feared mob boss on the entire East Coast. And 3 seconds before that kiss, a sniper's red dot had been sitting right on his forehead. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his world. She only knew one thing. If she didn't kiss him right now, he was going to die. Now let's go back to the beginning. The bar smelled like old whiskey and burnt lemon peel that Tuesday afternoon. Jamie Ross was wiping down the same stretch of wood she had already wiped twice. She did that when her hands needed something to do. But her brain was somewhere else, and lately her brain was always somewhere else. You're gonna rub a hole right through that wood, sweetheart. Jamie looked up. It was Eddie, the old regular who came in every single day at 3 o'clock and left at 5:30 without fail. He was tapping his empty glass on the bar. Sorry, Eddie, got my head in the clouds. Clouds, huh? Eddie smiled at her with that crooked mouth of his. Pretty girl like you shouldn't have her head in the clouds, should have it on a man. Eddie, when I'm 71, I can say whatever I want. You've been 71 for the last 4 years, and I'll be 71 for the next 4. Pour me another. Jamie poured him another bourbon, neat. 2 fingers, just the way he liked it. Eddie was the only customer in the bar at 3:15 on a Tuesday, which was why she had been wiping the same stretch of wood over and over. Tuesdays were dead. Tuesdays were when she could think too much, and thinking too much was a bad habit. Bad habit for a woman with a past like hers. She had been pouring drinks at this place, McCall's, for almost 2 years. 2 years of quiet. 2 years of nobody knowing her last name was Ross. 2 years of pretending she had never held a gun, never picked a lock, never sat at a table with men who decided who lived and who didn't. 2 years since her dad's funeral. 2 years since she had whispered into the cold marble of his headstone that she was done, that the family was done, that the name Ross would die with her. She was 29 years old. She had been a different person in a different life, and she did not want to go back. You ever been in love, Eddie? The old man squinted at her. Where did that come from? I don't know. The clouds, I guess. 3 times, married twice, buried one. He sipped his bourbon. Why you in love? No. Then why are you asking? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm even capable of it anymore. Eddie set his glass down slowly. He was a kind man, Eddie. He had been a longshoreman his whole life. He had seen things, and Jamie sometimes thought he could see right through her. Sweetheart, he said, you're 20-something years old. You got a whole life ahead of you. Don't talk like a woman who's already buried hers. Jamie smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Get out of here, Eddie. Go home to your cat. My cat hates me. Your cat loves you. You're just bad at reading the room. Eddie laughed. He drained his glass. He slid a 20 across the bar. Keep the change, sweetheart. Eddie, that's a $6 drink. Keep the change. He winked at her and shuffled out the door. She watched him go through the front window. She could see him crossing the street, hands jammed in his coat pockets, shoulders hunched against the cold November wind, and just past him, on the other side of Mulberry Street, was the restaurant. Vincent's, Italian place, white tablecloths, candles even at lunch. the kind of place where the menus didn't have prices on them. Jamie had never eaten there. She had looked at it sometimes through the window of the bar, the way a woman looks at a dress she can't afford. Not because she wanted to be inside, because something about it always bothered her. Today, something about it bothered her more. There was a black SUV parked out front. Then another one behind it. Then a third one across the street. Jamie's hands stopped moving on the bar. 3 SUVs, tinted windows, men in dark coats standing on the sidewalk, not looking at anything in particular, which was exactly how you knew they were looking at everything. She knew that posture, she knew that geometry. She had grown up watching men stand exactly like that around her father. "Don't," she whispered to herself, "don't you dare." She forced her eyes back down to the bar, wiped a glass, set it on the rack, wiped another. The clock on the wall ticked. 3:20, 3:20, 1. "Don't look across the street, Jamie. Don't." She looked through the front window of Vincent's, past the gold letters on the glass, past the lace curtain. She could see a table, round table, set for 6, but only 4 men sitting at it, and the man in the middle, the man with his back to the window. The man the other 3 kept leaning toward every time he spoke. Even from across the street, even through 2 panes of glass, she could feel it. The way the air changes when a powerful man walks into a room. The way conversation tilts. The way the whole world rearranges itself around one person. He turned his head just slightly to say something to the man on his right. And Jamie saw his profile. Henry Reed. She didn't know the face the way you know a friend. She knew it the way you know the photograph of a man your father once spat on the floor at the mention of. The way you know a name that 100 old men in 100 back rooms have whispered with fear, or hatred, or both. Henry Reed, the boss, East Coast, 5 families, whatever you wanted to call it. The man at the very top. And he was sitting 20 yards away from her, eating pasta. "Oh no," Jamie whispered. "No, no, no." She put the glass down. She put both hands flat on the bar to steady herself. Her heart was doing that thing it used to do in the old days. That low, fast hammering behind her ribs. She hated it. She had worked so hard to make it stop. Walk away, Jamie. Go to the back. Take out the trash. Do something, anything. You did not see him. You do not know him. You are not part of this. She turned to walk to the back. And as she turned, her eyes flicked, just for half a second, up to the building across the street from Vincent's. Old textile building, 5 stories, empty for months. A for lease sign in the window. A window on the 4th floor was open. Just one, just a crack. And in that crack, the late afternoon light hit something. Something long. Something with a polished black surface and a small round eye at the end of it. Jamie's stomach dropped through the floor. It was a rifle barrel, a scope, a man. She froze behind the bar. Every breath she'd ever taken left her body at once. Her father's voice came back to her, sharp as a slap. "Always check the high ground, Jamie. Always check the high ground. You don't see what's above you. You don't see what kills you." The high ground was taken. The high ground was loaded. The high ground was about to fire. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. That was how long she had before that rifle found its angle and pulled its trigger. That was how long Henry Reed had to live. "Why do you care?" A voice in her head screamed. "Why do you even care? He's a mob boss. He's exactly the kind of man who deserves a bullet. Walk away." But another voice, deeper, older, the voice that had been beaten into her since she was 9 years old, said, "You don't watch a man die in front of you. Not when you can stop it. You don't." Jamie Ross moved. She didn't think. She didn't plan. Her training took over, the way training is supposed to. The way her father had drilled into her on cold mornings in a backyard in Brooklyn. Her body knew what to do before her mind could catch up. She vaulted the bar, just put one hand on the wood and swung her legs over and landed clean on the other side. A customer who had just walked in, an old woman with a shopping bag, gasped. Jamie didn't see her. Jamie was already at the door. She hit the sidewalk running. The wind cut right through her thin work shirt. She didn't feel it. She had one picture in her head and one picture only, the rifle barrel, the fourth floor window, the round table inside Vincent's, the angle between them. A cab blared its horn at her. She didn't break stride. She crossed Mulberry Street against the light, threading between the SUVs. The men in dark coats turned and looked at her. One of them stepped forward and said, "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to." She shoved right past him. "Hey, hey." She was at the door of Vincent's. She pulled it open. Warm air hit her face. Garlic, wine, the quiet murmur of low conversation. The host looked up. "Senorita, do you have a—" She walked right past him. She walked past 2 more men in dark suits who half rose from a booth by the wall. She walked straight to the round table in the middle of the room. The men at it hadn't noticed her yet. They were still mid-conversation, still leaning in, still trusting that the wall of bodyguards outside would handle anything that came through that door. Henry Reed was lifting a glass of red wine to his lips. Jamie Ross did not stop walking. She walked right up to him, put one hand on the back of his head, one hand on his jaw, and pulled his face to hers. She kissed him, hard, full on the mouth. She kissed him like she had been kissing him for 10 years, and had missed him for 9 of them. She kissed him with her body angled deliberately between him and the front window, her shoulders broad, her hair falling across the side of his face, her whole body shielding the angle from the textile building across the street. The wine glass froze halfway to his mouth. Henry Reed did not move. The 3 men at the table did not move. The 2 men in the booth did not move. Time inside Vincent's restaurant came to a complete and total stop. The only thing moving in the entire room was Jamie's mouth on his. Half a second, 1 second, 2. Somewhere 4 floors up and across the street, a man with a sniper rifle put his eye to the scope and saw a woman's back, a woman's hair, a blocked shot. A target who was no longer a target because there was a regular person in the way. And regular people meant witnesses, and witnesses meant problems. 2 seconds later, the rifle barrel pulled back from the window. The window slid shut. A man in a black coat picked up his weapon case. He walked very calmly down 4 flights of stairs, out a back door and away. Inside Vincent's, Jamie pulled her mouth away from Henry Reed's. She did not step back. She kept her body exactly where it was between him and the window, because she didn't know yet if the shooter had given up or just changed angles. Henry Reed's eyes were 2 inches from hers, dark, almost black, and they were not the eyes of a man who had just been kissed. They were the eyes of a man calculating, very fast, exactly how he was going to deal with the woman standing in front of him. "Don't move," Jamie whispered, lips barely parted from his. "Please don't move yet." He didn't move. But every other man in the room did. She heard the scrape of chairs. She heard soft, mechanical clicks. She remembered those sounds from childhood. The click of safeties coming off and slides being racked. And she knew without looking that there were now somewhere between 6 and 10 guns pointed at her back. A voice behind her, calm and deadly. "Boss, step away. We got her." Henry did not step away. His eyes stayed locked on hers. She watched him. She watched the calculation happening behind those black eyes. She watched the rage. She watched something else underneath it, something she couldn't name yet. "Who sent you?" he said. Quiet, just to her, nobody. Wrong answer. "Sir, please don't move. There's a sniper, 4th floor, building across the street." A flicker. Just a flicker in those black eyes. "Boss," someone said behind her. "Say the word." Henry raised one finger. Just one, and every man in the room held. "Sniper," he repeated softly, "across the street. 4th floor, window was open. I saw the barrel. I saw the scope. I'm not lying to you. And so you walked in here and kissed me. It was the only thing I could do that wouldn't get me shot first. You could have screamed. He'd have fired before the word was out of my mouth. You'd be dead. Sir, please, please believe me." Henry Reid looked at her. Long, steady, then he said, "Cal." A man at his right shoulder said, "Yes, boss." "Send Tommy and 3 others to the building across the street, the textile place, 4th floor. Tell them to be very, very careful." "Yes, boss." "And Cal." "Yes, boss. Nobody touches the woman." "Boss." "Nobody touches her." "Yes, boss." Jamie heard footsteps moving fast behind her. The front door opened and shut. She didn't turn around. She kept her body where it was. She kept her eyes on Henry Reid's eyes. "You can step back now," he said quietly. "Are you sure? He's gone, isn't he?" "I think so." "Then step back." She stepped back. Her knees almost gave out. She locked them. She would not. She would not. She would not let her knees give in front of this man. Henry Reid looked her up and down slowly. Black work pants, white button-up shirt with a small whiskey stain on the cuff. Hair pulled back, no makeup, no purse, no jewelry except a thin silver chain at her throat. "You're the bartender?" he said, from across the street. "Yes." How does a bartender know how to spot a sniper on a 4th floor? Jamie did not answer. How does a bartender vault a counter, run across a street, push past 4 of my men, and decide that the best way to save a stranger's life is to kiss him on the mouth? She still did not answer. "Look at me." She looked. How? Her throat was so dry she had to swallow twice before she could speak. "My father trained me." "Your father?" "Yes." "And who was your father?" She closed her eyes. She didn't want to say it. She had not said it out loud in 2 years. She had buried it. She had killed it. She had walked away from it. "Open your eyes." She opened them. "Whose daughter are you?" Henry Reid said it again, softer this time. "Was your father?" Jamie Ross took a breath. Frank Ross. The room, which had already been still, went completely silent. Even the air seemed to stop. Henry Reid did not blink. He did not move. He stared at her like a man looking at a ghost. "Frank Ross," he repeated. "Yes." "Frank Ross of Brooklyn." "Yes." Frank Ross, who buried Vito Costa in the trunk of his own Cadillac in 1998. She didn't say anything. "Frank Ross, whose funeral I attended 2 years ago in a cemetery in Queens." "Yes." "Frank Ross, whose grave I personally placed a white rose on." Jamie's eyes burned. She did not let the tears come. She had not cried for her father in front of anyone. And she was not about to start now, in this restaurant, in front of this man. "Sir, I just want to go home." Henry Reed laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It wasn't unkind either. It was the laugh of a man who had just been handed the most unexpected gift of his entire life and didn't know whether to thank God or curse him. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "you are not going home." "Sir, you just saved my life in front of my men, in front of my enemies, in front of the entire city, by the time the news travels tonight. You think you go back to wiping that bar across the street, and nobody comes for you. You think the man who hired that sniper doesn't already know your face. He knows your face. He knows your name by tomorrow. He knows where you sleep by Thursday." Jamie's hands, which had been trembling, went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you don't have a home to go back to anymore." "I have a home. You had a home. Sir, please. I just acted on instinct. I don't want any part of this. I left this life. I made a promise to my father at his grave that I would never—" "Your father," Henry said, "was the closest thing to a brother I ever had in this world." Jamie's mouth fell open. She closed it. "You didn't know that?" "No, he didn't tell you. He didn't tell me anything about anything after I turned 18. He sent me to college. He sent me away. He told me to forget." Henry Reed nodded slowly. "That sounds like Frank." He was quiet for a long moment. The men in the room were still standing there with their hands inside their jackets. Nobody breathed without his permission. "Sit down," he said. "Sir, sit down, Jamie Ross. Have a glass of wine. I don't drink on the job. You're not on the job anymore." She did not sit. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, in the middle of a room full of armed men, and she thought about the bar across the street, about Eddie, about her quiet apartment with the cat she had named Whiskey, about the 2 years of careful peace she had built brick by brick by brick. She thought about her father's grave, she thought about her promise, and she thought about the rifle barrel in the 4th floor window, and the man behind it, and the question of what that man would do tomorrow when he learned that the bartender across the street had a name, and the name was Ross. Henry Reed pulled out the chair next to him. "Jamie," he said. His voice wasn't hard, it wasn't cruel, it was something else entirely, something low and certain and almost gentle. "Sit." "Please." She sat, and somewhere in the back of her mind, very quietly, the door she had locked 2 years ago at her father's grave clicked open. The chair was warm. That was the first thing Jamie noticed. The chair was warm because somebody else had been sitting in it 2 minutes ago, and that somebody had stood up and walked away without being told. Because Henry Reed had pulled it out, and when Henry Reed pulled out a chair, every other chair in the room emptied. She did not look at the men around the table. She kept her eyes on her hands folded in her lap, knuckles white. A waiter she had not seen come over set a glass of red wine in front of her. He didn't ask if she wanted it. Henry Reed had ordered it without speaking, just a small movement of 2 fingers, and the wine appeared. "Drink," Henry said. "I told you I don't, Jamie." She picked up the glass. Her hands shook. She set it back down without sipping. Henry watched her. He watched her the way a man watches a coin spinning on a table, waiting to see which side it lands on. "You have your father's hands," he said quietly. "Long fingers. Good for the piano. Frank had hands like that. Could have been a concert pianist if life had pointed him in a different direction. Don't what? Don't talk about him like you knew him. I knew him. Lots of men say that. Lots of men are liars." Henry took a slow sip of his own wine. "I am not, on this particular subject, one of them." Jamie's jaw tightened. Where were you when he was dying then? The room got very quiet. Henry set his glass down. I was in Italy. Convenient. My mother was dying that same week. I made a choice. I have not in 2 years stopped paying for it. She looked up at him for the first time since she had sat down. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those black, steady eyes, did not flinch. Your father, he said, called me on a Tuesday morning. He told me his liver was finished. He told me he had maybe a month. I told him I was on a plane that night. He said no. He said, Henry, you stay with your mother. I've had my time. She doesn't have hers yet. He said, I'll see you on the other side. 3 weeks later he was dead. My mother lived another 9 days after that. I would have buried her on a Tuesday and your father on a Friday. And I have not slept a full night since. Jamie's eyes burned. She blinked hard. She would not cry. She would not. He never mentioned you. He wouldn't have. He was protecting you. From what? Henry smiled. There was no joy in it. From this conversation. From this room. From the chair you're sitting in right now. She looked away. How old were you? He asked. When he sent you to school. 18. Where? Boston, then Chicago for grad school. He didn't want me anywhere near New York. And what did you study? Nursing. He laughed, actually laughed, a real one, short and surprised. Nursing. 2 years at Mass General. 1 year of trauma rotation. I quit when he got sick. Came home to take care of him. And after I needed something quiet. I'd been in trauma bays for 3 years. I'd seen enough blood. I just wanted to pour drinks for old men and go home to my cat. Henry nodded. And yet what? And yet you spotted a sniper in a 4th floor window from across a city street in 3 seconds while wiping down a bar. She did not answer. Nursing school doesn't teach you that, Jamie. No. Your father did, yes, even though he sent you away. Before he sent me away, I was 9. He started when I was 9. Henry was silent for a long moment. 9, he said, 9. He started training a 9. Your old girl how to spot snipers. He started training a 9. Your old girl how to stay alive. Her voice cracked just a little. She pulled it back. He told me, Jamie, the world is full of men who will want things from you because of who I am. I cannot always be there. So you will learn. You will learn how to listen, how to look, how to move, how to disappear. You will learn this because I love you and I will not have you helpless. The room had gone still again. The men at the other tables were pretending not to listen, but their hands had not left their jackets. He was a good father, Henry said. He was the only good thing I had. And when he died, you walked away from all of it. I walked away from all of it. And today you walked back. I didn't walk back. I crossed the street. There's a difference. Henry smiled again, smaller this time. Sweetheart, in this life there is no difference. Crossing the street and walking back are the same act. She did not like the way he called her sweetheart. She did not like that some part of her, some small and very dangerous part, didn't entirely mind it either. I want to go home, she said. I know you do. You said I can't. I said you don't have one anymore. There's a difference between can't and don't have. What does that mean? It means I will give you a home, a safer one. I don't want a home from you. And yet, stop saying and yet. I'll stop when you stop proving the point. Before she could answer, the front door of Vincent's opened. A man walked in fast. He was breathing hard. His coat was pulled tight. His right hand was inside it. Jamie's training, the training she had buried, lit up like a row of stadium lights. She marked his hands, his eyes, his shoulders, the bulge under his arm, the way his weight was on the balls of his feet. "Boss," the man said. "Cal." "Talk?" "Fourth floor. Window was open just like the lady said. Casing on the floor. One. Just one. He didn't take the shot." "Anything else?" "Cigarette butt. Marlboro Red, still warm. Stairwell door was propped open with a brick. Service exit out the back leads to the alley behind Mott Street." "He's gone." "We're sweeping the block, but he's gone." Henry did not move. He did not blink. He sat there holding his wine glass, and Jamie watched the muscle in his jaw shift once, then settle. "One casing." "Boss." He chambered the round. "He had you in the crosshairs. He had me in the crosshairs. And then a woman crossed the street and kissed you. Yes, boss." Henry turned his head very slowly and looked at Jamie. "Cal." "Yes." "Boss, who smokes Marlboro Reds?" Cal didn't answer right away. He glanced at Jamie, then back at Henry. "Cal?" "Boss, we don't know yet." "We need to." "Cal, who smokes Marlboro Reds while he works?" Cal's jaw tightened. He took a breath. "There's only one shooter on this coast who smokes while he works, boss." "Say his name." "Boss, the lady is family." "Say his name." Jamie's stomach dropped at the word family, but she did not move. Cal took a breath. "Steve DeMar." Henry closed his eyes. He kept them closed for a long moment. When he opened them, something in his face had changed. Something old and tired and angry. "Steve," he said softly, "sent a shooter." "Steve didn't send a shooter, boss." Steve was the shooter. Steve hasn't pulled a trigger himself in 15 years. Steve pulled one today. "Then this isn't business," Henry said. "This is personal." "Yes, boss." Jamie's hands were cold. She didn't know who Steve DeMar was, but she knew the look on Henry's face. She had seen it once on her father. The night he came home from a meeting in Bay Ridge and locked himself in his study and didn't come out for 2 days. It was the look of a man who had just realized that someone he loved had betrayed him. "Henry," she said quietly. He looked at her. "Who is Steve DeMar?" For a long moment, she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he said, "He's my brother-in-law. He was married to my sister. He held my niece in his arms the day she was born. He was at my mother's funeral, 9 days before he was at your father's. He stood next to me at that grave, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, 'Henry, we are the only family we have left.' He picked up his wine. His hand was perfectly steady, and today he loaded a round and put it on my forehead while I was eating pasta." Jamie didn't know what to say, so she said the only thing that was true. "I'm sorry." Henry looked at her. "Don't be sorry." "Sweetheart, you're the only reason I'm still breathing." He drained his glass, set it down, pushed back his chair. "Cal, get the cars." "Yes, boss." "Tommy." "Yes, boss." 2 men on every door of her apartment building until we move her out. "And Tommy." "Yes, boss." "The cat too." "Boss." "The cat too, Tommy." "Yes, boss." Jamie's mouth opened. "Wait, wait, wait. Move me out to where? Somewhere safe." "And where is that?" Henry buttoned his jacket. He looked down at her. There was no apology in his eyes, but there was no cruelty either. There was just the certainty of a man who had already decided. "My house." "Absolutely not. Jamie, I just told you I left this life. I made a promise. I don't. Steve DeMar saw your face. He saw my back. He saw your face, Jamie, from 4 floors up with a scope. He saw the color of your eyes. He saw the shape of your mouth. By tomorrow morning, he has your name. By tomorrow afternoon, he has your address. By tomorrow night, he has a man at your door. And that man is not coming to talk. You don't know that. I know Steve. I know him better than I know my own reflection. I helped raise him, Jamie. I taught him how this works. I taught him that you don't leave a witness. Especially a witness who can identify you. Especially a witness who put her body between you and your shot. Her throat closed. She tried to swallow and couldn't. So you have two choices. Henry said, you come with me, or you go home and you wait. Wait for what? Wait for him. Those words landed on her like a hand on the back of her neck. She thought of her apartment, the little blue couch she had bought at a thrift store, the kitchen window with the ivy, the chipped mug she drank her coffee out of every morning, Whiskey, her big grey tabby who slept on her chest at night and purred so loud he sometimes woke her up. She thought of her front door, and a man with no face standing on the other side of it. My cat. She heard herself say, Tom is getting the cat. He doesn't like strangers. Tom is good with cats. He's not good with strangers. Jamie? She put her hands over her face. She kept them there. She breathed in. She breathed out. She tried one last time to find the road back to the life she had built. The bar, the apartment. 2 years of careful peace. There was no road back. The road back had ended the moment she crossed Mulberry Street. She lowered her hands. If I come with you, she said, I am not yours. I didn't say you were. Don't get any ideas. Sweetheart, I have many ideas. I can assure you none of them involve forcing a Ross to do anything she hasn't chosen. I am not your family. You are Frank's daughter. That is not the same thing. In this life, Jamie, it is exactly the same thing. She stood up, her legs held, barely, one condition. She said, name it. When this is over. When Steve DeMar is handled. When the threat is gone, I walk. He looked at her for a long time. You walk. You don't follow. I don't follow. You don't send anyone. I don't send anyone. Swear it. On what? On my father's grave. The room went still again. Cal, by the door, drew in a breath. The men at the other tables exchanged looks. You did not swear on a grave lightly in this world. And you did not swear on the grave of Frank Ross at all, unless you meant it. Henry did not look away from her. On Frank Ross's grave, he said, I swear it. When this is finished, you walk. I do not follow, I do not send. You go where you want, you live how you want. And no man, in this thing of ours, will ever lay a hand on you again. Because the word will go out from me today that Jamie Ross is untouchable. For the rest of her natural life, she could not speak. He saw it. Now, he said more gently, let's go. She walked behind him to the door. Her legs felt like somebody else's legs. Her hand felt like somebody else's hands. The men in the room rose as Henry passed and nodded their heads, and a few of them nodded at her too, which was something she had not expected, and didn't know how to receive. At the door, Henry paused. Cal? Yes, boss. The bar across the street, McCall's? Yes, boss. The owner is a man named Patrick McCall. Old Irish, used to box, find him. Tell him Jamie had a family emergency. Pay him 6 months of her salary in cash. He liked her. I want him to keep liking her. Yes, boss. And the old man at the bar, the one who tipped her $14 on a $6 bourbon. Jamie's head snapped up. How do you, sweetheart? I've been watching that bar for 6 months. Her stomach turned. What? We'll talk about it in the car. Henry, Cal. The old man, Eddie, find out where he lives. Make sure nobody bothers him. He's got nothing to do with this. And I don't want anybody putting a hand on him to get to her. Yes, boss, now move. The men moved outside. The November wind hit her face. The black SUV was idling at the curb. A man in a dark coat held the back door open. Henry gestured for her to get in first. She didn't move. "You've been watching me?" "Yes. For 6 months. For 6 months. Why?" "Get in the car. Jamie, tell me why, or I don't get in. Steve would have killed you tonight either way. Get in the car. Why have you been watching me, Henry?" He looked at her. The wind moved his hair. He had a faint scar above his left eyebrow she hadn't noticed before. "Because 2 years ago," he said, "your father called me from his hospital bed. 3 days before he died, he was on so much morphine he could barely speak." She could not breathe. "What?" "He asked me one thing." She could not breathe. "What?" "He asked me to keep an eye on his daughter." Without her knowing, he said, "She's going to try to hide." "Let her hide, but watch from a distance. Make sure nobody finds her." And I said yes. "For 2 years, Jamie, every man who has come within 50 feet of you on a bad street, every car that slowed down outside your apartment, every drunk who got loud at your bar has been quietly handled. You have not noticed because you were not meant to notice." She put a hand on the SUV to steady herself. "That is the only promise I have made to a dying man in 20 years, Henry said, and I kept it every single day. And today you cross the street and step between me and a bullet. And the first thing I thought when I felt your mouth on mine was not, 'Who is this woman?' It was, 'Frank, you son of a... Your daughter just saved my life. And now I have to break my promise and pull her into the very thing you tried to keep her out of, because I cannot protect her from a distance anymore." Jamie's eyes filled. This time she didn't stop them. One tear slipped down her cheek. Henry reached up with one finger, the back of one finger, very gently. He wiped it away. "Get in the car, sweetheart." She got in the car. The door shut behind her. With a soft, final sound like the closing of a book she had thought she'd finished reading 2 years ago, and was only now beginning to understand had always been about her. Nobody spoke for the first 10 minutes of the drive. Jamie watched the city slide past her window. The streets she knew. The streets she had walked home on 1,000 times. And she felt the strangest thing. She felt, for the first time in 2 years, that she was being driven somewhere she could not walk back from. Henry sat beside her, not touching her, not looking at her. His phone was in his hand. He was reading something. His thumb scrolled, paused, scrolled again. His face gave nothing away. In the front seat, Cal was on a different phone, speaking low and fast in English and Italian, all mixed together. She caught pieces of it. The textile building, the brick, the cigarette. "Get me Marco." "No, the other Marco, the one from Howard Beach." She closed her eyes. She thought, 6 months. He has been watching me for 6 months. Then she thought, 2 years. He has been watching me for 2 years. Then she thought, my father knew. My father asked him to. She felt sick. She felt grateful. She felt furious. She felt all three at the same time and could not tell them apart. "Henry." He looked up from his phone. "Yes." "Did my father ever come to see you after he sent me away?" "Many times." "How many?" "I don't know, 60, 80. He came every Christmas, every Easter. He came when somebody died. He came when somebody was born. He came when he needed advice. He came when I needed advice." She was silent for a moment. "He told me he had cut all of it off. He told you that to keep you safe. He lied to me. He protected you. It is the same thing." "Henry, lying to protect somebody is still lying." Henry did not answer right away. "Yes," he said finally, "it is." And he knew it, and he hated it, and he did it anyway, Because he loved you more than he loved his own honesty? There is no man in this world, Jamie, who has not at some point lied to somebody he loved in order to keep them whole. Your father was not a saint. He was a father. There is a difference. She turned her head and looked at him. Did you ever have children? No. Did you want them? He was quiet for a long time. Yes. Why didn't you? Because I am what I am, and what I am is not something I would wish on a child. The car turned. They were leaving the city, crossing a bridge. She watched the lights of Manhattan thin out and disappear in the side mirror. Where are we going? Long Island. Where on Long Island? A house I keep. Quiet, off the main road. 2 miles from the nearest neighbor. My men know it. The cleaning staff knows it. Nobody else. How many people will be there? Tonight 6, maybe 8. By tomorrow 12, all armed, and me. And you. She looked down at her hands. The knuckles were still white. Henry. Yes. What happens when Steve DeMar doesn't just go away on his own? He looked at her. He didn't pretend not to understand the question. Then he doesn't go away on his own. And you handle it. I handle it personally if it has to be. She nodded once. She didn't feel anything about it. She didn't know if that was good or bad. She had spent 2 years training herself not to feel anything about this kind of question. And now, on the night the question had finally come back to her, she was discovering that 2 years was apparently long enough to break the part of her that should have been horrified. Maybe that part of her had never existed. Maybe her father had drilled it out of her when she was 9. The phone in Henry's hand buzzed. He looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. Boss, Cal said from the front seat, half turning. It's Tommy. Put him on speaker. Henry did. A man's voice came through, breathless and tight. Boss, we're at the ladies' apartment. 4th floor walk up. We're inside. Talk to me. Door wasn't kicked. No tampering. But boss, talk. There's a man across the street. White van, plumbing logo, but the plates don't match the company. He's been parked there 40 minutes minimum. Engine running. He's on a phone. Jamie's heart shot up into her throat. Tommy, yes, boss. Is the cat alive? Cat's alive, boss. Cat's mad, but alive. I got him in a carrier. He bit me twice. Good. Get the cat out the back. Service entrance. Don't go past that van. Boss, the van. Leave the van. Don't engage. Just get the cat and the lady's things and get out. What things does she? Henry turned to Jamie. Jamie, what do you need from your apartment? Quickly. Her mind was blank. She forced her brain to work. There's a metal box under my bed in the back. There's a folder in there. My dad's letters, birth certificate, passport, some cash. Tommy under the bed, metal box, photos and documents, get it. Yes, boss. And clothes, top drawer of the dresser, just whatever fits in a bag. Close it out for 2 weeks, move. Yes, boss. The line went quiet. 30 seconds, 40, a minute. Jamie counted her breaths. She hadn't realized how hard she was gripping the door handle until her fingers started to cramp. The phone buzzed again. Boss. Tommy's voice was lower now. We got the box. We got the clothes. We got the cat. Good. But the van just moved. Henry's whole body went still. Where? Pulled around the corner. Parked again. Same engine. Same guy on the same phone. He's not here for the lady right now, boss. He's setting up. He's waiting for somebody else to arrive. How many men are you with? 3, including me. Get out the back. Now, don't take the front stairs. Don't take the elevator. Service stairs. Go down to the basement. There's a door to the alley behind the building. The car is around the second corner from there. Move. Yes, boss, moving. The line stayed open. They could hear Tommy breathing hard. They could hear the soft thump of his shoes on stairs. They could hear, very faintly, a cat yowling in the background. "Whiskey," Jamie whispered. "What? The cat? His name is Whiskey." Henry almost smiled. "Almost, of course it is." The breathing on the line got faster. Then a door, then traffic noise, then a car door, then an engine. "We're out, boss. We're moving." "Anybody on you?" "Negative." "Any car turning when you turn?" I pause. "Negative. Drive 20 minutes the wrong direction, then come." "Yes, boss." The line went dead. Henry lowered the phone. Jamie was shaking. She hadn't noticed when it started. Her hands, her legs, her teeth. She was shaking like she had just been pulled out of freezing water. Henry looked at her. He did not say it's okay. He did not say you're safe. He didn't insult her with a lie. What he said was, "He moved fast, sweetheart. He moved very fast. That van was there inside 2 hours of you walking into Vincent's. Steve didn't just want you dead. He wanted you dead tonight." "Why? Because you saw him." "I didn't see him. I saw a barrel." "You saw enough. The man who hired that sniper, or in this case, was that sniper, is now running on a clock he cannot afford. Your face is the only piece of evidence in the world that connects Steve DeMar to the attempted murder of Henry Reed. He cannot leave that piece of evidence sitting in an apartment with a lock he can pick." She put her face in her hands. "My God," breathed Jamie. "My God, my God. Jamie, look at me." She didn't, Jamie. She looked up. His face was very close. He had leaned across the seat. His eyes were 2 inches from hers, just like they had been in the restaurant, just like they had been when she had her mouth on his. "You are alive," he said. "Your cat is alive. Your father's letters are alive. Tommy has all 3 of them in a car, and that car is going to be at the house in an hour, and you are going to sit on a couch, and you are going to drink the glass of wine I should have made you finish at the restaurant. And you are going to be alive." She could not speak. "Nod if you understand me." She nodded. "Good girl." The words landed somewhere she had not expected them to land. She did not even know what to do with the heat that climbed up her neck. He sat back in his seat. He looked out his own window. He gave her, without saying so, the privacy to put her face back together. She put her face back together. The drive to the house took another 40 minutes. The roads got narrower. The streetlights got farther apart. By the time the SUV slowed and turned onto a long private driveway, the only light was the dashboard glow and a pair of headlights cutting into a wall of black trees. 2 men stepped out of the dark when the car stopped. They had rifles. They didn't point them. They saw Henry through the windshield and lowered them. "Boss, Marco, all quiet. All quiet. Stay quiet." She got out of the car. The cold hit her. She had no coat. Henry took off his own and put it around her shoulders before she could refuse. And it was so heavy and warm, and it smelled so much like a man, like wool and cologne and the faint salt of skin, that her eyes burned again. And she had to look at the ground. "Inside," he said. She walked inside. She didn't really see the house. She saw a hallway. She saw a coat closet. She saw a kitchen with copper pots hanging from a rack. She followed Henry into a room with a fireplace and a leather couch, and she sat down on the couch because her legs would not hold her up anymore. A woman she had not seen before came into the room with a glass of water and a small plate of bread and cheese. She was older, 60, maybe 65, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes. She set the water down on the table in front of Jamie and looked at her. Really looked, the way an aunt looks at a niece who has just walked in from a very long bus ride. "Eat," the woman said. "Drink. You are too pale. Thank you. My name is Rita. I am the housekeeper. I am also the cook. I am also the woman who tells the men to wipe their feet. If you need something, you come to me, not them. They do not know how to bring a glass of water without spilling it. Jamie almost laughed. It came out as a small, wet sound. Thank you, Rita. You eat. I am bringing soup. Soup first, then more, then sleep. She left. Henry had been watching from the doorway. He stepped into the room. He didn't sit on the couch. He sat in the chair across from her. He leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. He watched her with that black, careful gaze. Jamie, yes. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Okay? Is there anyone in this world besides your cat who is going to notice that you didn't come home tonight? She thought about it. Eddie, he'll notice tomorrow when I'm not there at 3. Eddie's covered. Cal handled it. My boss, Patrick, also handled. She stopped. There's a woman in my building, Mrs. Alvarez. She watches whiskey when I work late. She'll worry. We'll send her flowers and a note that you had a family emergency. That's it. That's it. She looked down. He nodded slowly. 2 years, he said softly. And the only people who would notice you're gone are an old man, a bar owner, and your downstairs neighbor. I wanted it that way. I know you did. I'm not lonely. I didn't say you were. I had a cat. Yes. I had a job. Yes. I was fine, sweetheart. I was fine, Henry. You were surviving. There is a difference. She set the glass of water down because her hand had started shaking again, and she didn't want to spill it. Don't do this to me tonight. Not tonight. All right. Just not tonight. All right, Jamie, not tonight. There was a long silence. The fire popped. Somewhere in another part of the house, a man laughed at something another man said. A car door shut outside. Henry? Yes. What are you going to do about Steve? He looked at her for a long moment. That is not a question for tonight either. I want to know. Tomorrow. Tonight, Henry. Tonight, because tomorrow I am going to wake up in a bed I don't own, in a house I don't know, and I am going to remember that the entire reason I am here is a man named Steve DeMar. And I would like to know, before I close my eyes, what you plan to do about him. He sat back in his chair. He laced his fingers together. He looked at the fire. I am going to find him, he said. And I am going to sit across from him at a table, and I am going to ask him why, and when he tells me, then it will depend on what he tells me. What does that mean? It means I am not a man who kills family without listening first, Jamie. Even family that has tried to kill me. She studied him. She thought of her father. She remembered suddenly a thing he had said to her once, when she was 14, when she had asked him why he didn't kill a man who had cheated him. Her father had said, because once you do it, you cannot undo it. And the men who cannot undo things are the men who lose the most in the end. You sound like my father. He taught me. He taught you. He taught me a great many things, Jamie, some of which you are now benefiting from even though you didn't know you would. The front door opened down the hall. Footsteps, then a muffled sound, then a wail, loud, furious, completely outraged. Jamie was on her feet before she knew she was standing. A man in a black coat came into the room holding a small cat carrier at arm's length, the way a person holds something that has been biting them. Ma'am, whiskey. The cat saw her. The yowling stopped. The cat went absolutely silent. 2 enormous yellow eyes locked on her face. Jamie dropped to her knees. She unlatched the carrier. The cat came out like a small gray rocket and went straight up into her arms and pushed his face under her chin and started to purr, so loud she felt it in her ribs. She broke. She had been holding it together since she vaulted the bar. She had been holding it together when she kissed a stranger. She had been holding it together when the stranger turned out to be the most dangerous man in New York. She had been holding it together when he told her he'd been watching her for 2 years. She had been holding it together when a van moved on her block. She held the cat and she let the tears go. She didn't sob. She just sat on the floor of a house she had never been in and held a cat and let it out. Henry did not come over. He did not put a hand on her shoulder. He did not say anything. He simply got up, walked to the doorway, and quietly told Tommy to put her bag in the room at the end of the hall. He told Rita to bring the soup whenever the lady was ready. He told the men in the kitchen to keep their voices down for the rest of the night. Then he came back, sat in his chair, and waited. When Jamie finally lifted her head, cat still pressed against her chest, she found him watching her. Not with pity, not with hunger, not with any of the things she had braced herself for. Just watching. Like a man learning a face. Henry? Yes. Why did you wipe my tear away in the car with the back of your finger? He looked at her for a long moment. Because if I had used the front of my finger, he said quietly, I don't think I would have been able to stop there. She didn't know what to say. So she said nothing. She just held her cat and looked at this man who had been watching her from a distance for 2 years, and felt, for the first time since her father died, that she was not actually alone in the world. And the part of her that had spent 2 years building a wall against this exact feeling, brick by brick by brick, felt the first stone slide quietly out of place and fall. She slept 4 hours, maybe 5. The cat slept on her chest the entire time. When Jamie woke up, the gray light of morning was already in the room. Whiskey was staring at her face from 2 inches away, with the offended patience of a creature who had decided it was very much past time for breakfast. "All right," she whispered. "All right, you little tyrant." She sat up. Her body ached. Her brain, for one merciful second, did not remember anything. Then it remembered everything. Vincent's, the kiss, the wine, Steve DeMar, the white van on her block, a man's coat around her shoulders, a finger wiping a tear from her cheek. She put her face in her hands. She breathed in, she breathed out, then she got up. There were clothes folded on a chair by the door that were not hers. Soft gray sweatpants, a black sweater, thick socks. Rita had been in the room and Jamie had not even heard her. That should have made her feel watched. Instead, somehow, it made her feel taken care of. She dressed. She found a bathroom. She splashed water on her face. She looked at herself in the mirror and did not recognize herself, which was new and also old, because there had been a year after her father's death when she had not recognized herself either. She went down the hall. The kitchen smelled like coffee and bacon and something else, something rich and tomato-based that did not belong to any breakfast, except the kind Rita had grown up making. Rita was at the stove. She turned when Jamie came in. "Sit, eat. The boss is in his study. He will come when he comes. You eat first." "I'm not really." "You eat first." Jamie sat. She ate. The food was extraordinary. She hadn't realized she was hungry until she had finished half a plate. Then she couldn't stop. Rita watched her with the quiet satisfaction of a woman who has fed many people over a long life and knows the exact moment when grief finally turns into appetite. "More, Rita, I can't. More, I am not too thin. You are too thin for what is coming." Jamie's fork paused. "What is coming?" Rita looked at her. Her eyes weren't unkind. They were simply truthful. "I do not know, child, but in this house when there are this many men, and when they speak this quietly in the hallway at 6 in the morning, something is coming. So you eat. You drink your coffee. You sit straight, and when the boss calls for you, you go. Jamie ate the rest of the plate. When she was finished, Rita took it without a word, set down a cup of black coffee, and walked out of the kitchen. Jamie sat with her hands around the warm cup. She listened. The house was not loud, but it was not quiet either. It had the particular hum of a house with too many people in it pretending not to be there. Low voices, a door closing, a phone vibrating on a table, the soft clink of a coffee cup on a saucer somewhere down the hall. Then footsteps coming her way. She stood up before she knew she was standing. Henry came into the kitchen. He had not slept. She could see it in his face, the shadow under his eyes, the faint tightness along his jaw that had set and not unset. "Good morning, sweetheart. Good morning." He stopped a few feet from her. He didn't touch her. He looked at her. He looked at the sweater. He looked at the damp ends of her hair from the bathroom sink. "You ate." Rita wouldn't take no for an answer. Nobody in this house takes no from Rita, including me, especially me. For just a moment, the corner of his mouth lifted. Just a fraction, then it was gone. "I need to talk to you, Jamie, in the study, now." "Okay, bring your coffee." She brought her coffee. She followed him down a hallway and into a room with a heavy wooden door. He shut the door behind them. He didn't invite her to sit. He went to the desk. He picked up a phone. He turned it over in his hand. He set it down. "Steve called me an hour ago." She set her coffee down on the corner of the desk, because her hand was no longer reliable. "What did he say?" "He said he wanted to meet." "For what?" "To explain." She watched him. "You're going?" "Yes." "When?" "Tonight." "Henry, listen to me." "Jamie, listen carefully. I am not going alone. I am bringing 8 men. The location is mine. The time is mine. The chairs in the room are mine. The waiter is mine. The kitchen is mine. He will walk in with 2 men, both of whom I have known for 15 years, both of whom I trust slightly more than I trust Steve at this moment. He will sit down. He will tell me his story. I will listen, and then I will know what to do. "Henry, he tried to kill you yesterday." "Yes." "And now you are going to sit across a table from him?" "Yes." "That is insane." "That is the rules." She stared at him. "What rules?" "The rules of this thing of ours, Jamie. They are old. They are not always rational, but they exist for a reason. If a man in our world wants to talk before he dies, he gets to talk. If I don't give him that, I am not the boss. I am just a man with a gun, and the moment I become just a man with a gun, every other man in this thing of ours starts wondering whether they need a gun for me." She closed her eyes. "My father said something like that once. He would have. He said, the day a boss stops following the rules, his men start counting bullets." That is exactly the sentence. He used to say it about a man named Peterson. Peterson was the boss before me. She opened her eyes. "Then your father served under him." "My father served under his father before that. The 2 families have been linked for 60 years, Jamie. It is not a coincidence that Frank Ross's daughter walked across the street and stepped between me and a bullet. It is not a coincidence that you were across the street to begin with. It is not a coincidence that of all the bars in this city, the one Patrick McCall owns is the one with a clear line of sight into Vincent's, which is the restaurant my father ate in every Tuesday for 40 years. Something cold went down her spine. "What are you saying?" He looked at her. "I am saying I don't yet know what I am saying. I am saying there are too many threads in this fabric for me to call it an accident. I am saying your father got you that job." "My father has been dead for 2 years. Your father, 2 years ago, made a phone call to Patrick McCall." She could not breathe.
What?
Patrick McCall told Cal last night in the back office of the bar, with a check for 6 months of your salary on the table between them, that the only reason he hired you 2 years ago was because Frank Ross called him from a hospital bed and asked him to. Patrick hadn't heard from your father in 11 years. He owed your father a debt. He gave you the job. He didn't tell you he knew your father. He has called your father's lawyer once a month for 2 years to confirm you are still showing up. Her hands were shaking again. My father got me that job. Yes. My father put me across the street from a restaurant you eat in once a week. Yes. Why, Jamie? Sweetheart, sit down. Why, Henry? Sit down. Why? Because I think your father knew that one day somebody was going to come for me, and he wanted somebody he trusted within line of sight when it happened. She sat down hard in a chair she hadn't seen. He used me. No, he used me as a backup plan. Jamie, no. He sent me to college. He told me to forget. He made me promise, and the whole time he was setting me up to be a lookout for you. Sweetheart, listen. Don't sweetheart me right now, Henry. Don't. All right. He lied to me, yes, for my entire life. He protected you and he positioned you, both at once, yes. She put her hands flat on the desk. Because if she didn't put them somewhere, she was going to put a fist through something. And you knew? I did not know. You knew. Jamie, I swear to you on the same grave you made me swear on last night. I did not know about the bar. I knew that he had asked me to watch you. I knew that I had been watching you through Patrick, because Patrick was on the corner where you worked. I assumed Patrick was a coincidence. I did not until last night at midnight when Cal told me, know that your father had set up Patrick the same way he set up me. Then your father set up Patrick. Your father set up me. Your father set up the corner. Your father set up the entire chessboard. And we are all of us, 2 years after his funeral, still moving the way he wanted us to move. That sounds like Frank. She laughed. It was an awful sound. It was not a laugh. That sounds exactly like Frank. She put her face in her hands. For a long moment, she didn't move. Henry didn't speak. The only sound in the room was the tick of a clock somewhere on a shelf. Finally, she lifted her head. Henry, yes. Did my father know it was going to be Steve? I do not know. Did he know it was going to be somebody? Yes. He told me on his deathbed that there was a storm coming. He did not say from where. He said only, Henry, when it comes, it will come from inside the house. He said, watch your sister. Her head snapped up. His sister, my sister, Steve's wife. My sister Marie, he told you to watch your sister. Yes. What did he know? Jamie, I do not know. I didn't understand it then. I thought he was out of it from the morphine. I thought he was warning me about a man. The closest man to me at the time was Steve, and Marie was Steve's wife. So I assumed he was telling me that Steve was the man and that Marie was just the connection. I assumed he meant watch your sister because she is married to the man. I have spent the last 24 hours wondering if he meant something else. Something else. I have spent the last 24 hours wondering if he meant watch your sister. Full stop. Your sister? My sister Marie? She would not? I do not know what she would or would not. Henry? Yes. Has she ever lied to you? He was silent for a very long time. Yes. About what? Money. About how much? About where it went. 3 years ago I forgave it. I covered it. I didn't ask her where it went. I should have. Jamie's stomach turned into a fist. You think your sister is in on this? I think it is possible that my sister is in on this. And I think that if she is, then what I am sitting down to tonight is not just a meeting between me and Steve DeMar. It is a meeting between me and the closest member of my own family, and it is going to end one of 2 ways. Either I am wrong, and Steve is going to convince me he was hired by somebody else, and Marie knew nothing, or I am right, and the woman I held in my arms the day she was born is the woman who put a sniper rifle on my forehead in a restaurant my father used to eat in. His voice had not risen, his face had not changed, but his hands on the surface of the desk were now very, very still, in a way that scared her more than any amount of shouting would have. "Henry, yes, don't go without me." The room got very quiet. He looked up at her. "What did you say?" "Don't go without me, Jamie. Listen, if this is a trap, if your sister is in on this, if Steve walks into that room with a smile and a story and something hidden in his sleeve, you need somebody in that room who is not on the books, somebody Steve doesn't know about, somebody he is not counting. I am exactly that person. I am a bartender. I am a nobody. I am a face he saw for 2 seconds through a scope, and has been told is a civilian. He is not going to be looking for me. And I have spent 8 years training for exactly this kind of room. 8 years. My father started when I was